Suddenly the sound of gamelan, singing and cheers stopped. All of the beings who were there turned and looked at Asida standing still. The mysterious crowd was full of blood, some with broken face, some are headless, while others floating. All of them looked at her dead in the eye. Suddenly everything went dark. Asi passed out. Asi fainted and woke up on her mother's lap. With the scent of eucalyptus oil, she slowly opened her eyes. In front of her there were many people waiting for her to wake up. Because of this terrible incident, finally Asi's father called an ustad, a religious Islamic scholar who hopefully can help solve Asi and family disturbance problem. The next day the ustad came to the house. After meditating and looking around the house, he explained what's wrong with the house. There are so many spirits that are living in Asi's house because of the previous owner that like to collect heirlooms that are haunted. It seems that the spirit here don't want to move out because they have occupied this place for a long time. In other words, they just want to tell Asi's family that they are here to stay by disturbing them. Asi and family shocked and helpless hearing what Ustaz told them. They passed. One afternoon on a rainy day, there was a woman knocking on the door while giving Islamic readings. Daisy, who's on the living room, asked who she was. Apparently she is Asi's friend from the same office. Her name is Tuti. Daisy invited Tuti to come in while waiting for Asi, who is taking a bath. Shortly later, Asi came out and met Tuti. They planned to go out but failed because suddenly it started to rain. The smell of the soil that was hit by the pouring rain made Asi shrivel her nose. The two of them chatted non-stop about their work and other things. The rain ongoing until night and doesn't show that it'll stop soon. It was already late at night, so Tuti have no choice but to sleep at Asi's house. While talking in the living room, which also where the gamelan located, they suddenly hear the sound from one of the gamelan instruments. Tuti was surprised. They looked at each other and felt silent for a moment without speaking. Tuti asked if Asi heard the sound. Asi gave a nodding gesture. They, who had been sitting far apart, now were close to each other. Fear and silent, Tuti, who was shaking, urged Asi to move to her room. Asi nodded. Before going to Asi's room, she asked for Asi to accompany her to the bathroom. When Tuti walked toward the bathroom, Tuti heard a humming voice. Sounded like someone is calling her, but she's not sure about it. Tuti thought it was Asi's voice and asked her what she's doing. Asi, who was waiting outside the bathroom, was confused and asked Tuti what she meant by that. Tuti said that she thought Asi left her alone. After a while, there was again a soft humming sound, making Tuti in the bathroom think it was Asi's voice. Tuti begged Asi to stop humming because it scared her. There was no answer from Asi. Tuti immediately opened the bathroom door, and she's surprised to see Asi was sitting while humming. Tuti nimbly pulled Asi's arm and brought her inside the room. In the middle of the trip, Asi stopped and making Tuti jolt back. With a flat, deep voice, Asi said that she wanted to drink water. Tuti nodded and replied that she will go to the room first. When Tuti passed the living room, she heard the sound again. Feeling being watched, Tuti continued her pace faster. Arriving at the door of the room, Tuti forced open the door and saw that Asi and Desi were sitting, waiting for her who's been too long in the bathroom. Tuti eyes wide open. She's speechless. So who was there with her before? Asi explained that Tuti was in the bathroom for too long while singing and humming, so she left Tuti out of fear. Tuti immediately went limp hearing what Asi says. She then sat down and told what had happened to her. When they were seriously listening to Tuti's story, suddenly they heard the sound of a horseshoe's footstep and the tinkling of bell outside the house. For a moment they were silent in the room. Curiosity beats fear. Asi is followed by Tuti from behind, trying to look through the window. Not for Desi, who chose to cover her body with a blanket. As Asi looked through the gap, right in front of her there was a white horse and a carriage with a pocong driver stopped in front of the house. Asi, who was shocked, covered her mouth. Tuti, who also saw it, instantly fainted. Asi, surprised and worried that her friend passed out. Asi asked Desi to help carry Tuti's body onto the bed. That night was a night that scared Tuti to death. The next day, Tuti intended to leave immediately. Remembering what happened last night made her kneel down to not stay at Asi's house again. Day passed and disturbance continues to happen. Another night, Asi was going out with her friends. Asi returned home at 10 o'clock at night. Everything is done. She just needs to lay down and go to sleep while hoping there will be no disturbance tonight. Again, just the same humming voice she heard when Tuti was in her house days before, making Asi goosebump. Seeing that she was asleep, she did not want to disturb her. Asi tried as best as she could to stay calm while laying on the bed with her eyes closed. She prayed so that the spirit wouldn't disturb her. When Asi opened her eyes and looked at the ceiling, she saw a pocong head with scorched face in front of her eyes. Asi became more and more frightened, tears dripping down her cheeks one by one. Her voice trembled as she sat down and the blanket covered her body. Unable to withstand the fear, she passed out into the silence of the night. She woke up again at 2 a.m. because she heard the sound of the horseshoe footstep again. Asi ran frantically, moving to her parents' room, leaving Desi alone. Asi wakes her mom and dad and tells them what just happened. It turned out that they also have been experiencing the same thing as them, but they don't want to tell her and Desi, thinking that they will get used to something like this and the disturbance will fade away soon. Asi in a sad tone asks her parent why is she getting disturbed more than anyone else in the house. Her parents have no clue either, but there's something that happened when Asi is still in her mother's womb. And this is probably the reason why Asi is the one that gets disturbed the most compared to others. Before Asi was born and still in her mother's womb, her mom, who had been wanted to go to the Bidadari Island, was finally obeyed by her husband. They safely landed on Bidadari Island using boat. They planned to be there for just one day. As they walked past through the woods to go to a nicer picnic spot, they saw a black human-like ape shadow with thick hair. Asi dad thought it was Genderuwo, a Javanese mythical creature with human-like ape features that can mimic any human and doing something obscene, especially to women. But he didn't tell her about what she thought and said to her that it was only a wild animal, probably a monkey, because he didn't want to scare her. They continued with their vacation. When finally they got home at night, Asi's mom was done cleaning herself and ready to go to sleep alone at the bedroom. Asi's father was still busy cleaning things in the living room. Suddenly, Asi's mom's body felt heavy and she couldn't get up from her bed, just like something on top of her. As she opened her eyes, she saw the figure of Genderuwo sitting on top of her stomach while playing with his sharp fingers. She screamed as loudly as she could. Her husband startled and immediately ran to the bathroom. He saw her laying on bed helplessly. He didn't see the Genderuwo but knew exactly what happened to her wife, as he remembered the incident from Bidadari Island earlier that day. He started reading the Quran verse to expel the creature. Instantly the Genderuwo disappeared and her body began to able to move again. They are thankful because both Asi's mom and Asi, who was in the womb, are safe. There were no more unusual things happen until she gave birth to Asi. But the Genderuwo incident might be the reason why Asi attracts more spirit to her compared to anybody else.